Alright, let's not beat around the bush and just get into things. Comic-Con. Oh, that's good to hear. Good. I'm still adding notes to my Batman v Superman notes. I have a full page, which actually isn't that much for Batman v Superman. But, you know, especially nothing compared to Kirby. I have 6.5 pages of Kirby notes. Meanwhile, I only have one about Batman v Superman. So weird. This is one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, we're either going to go for like the next 2 hours or we're going to go for like 8. I have no idea at this point. Because we got a lot to do. But we're playing Kirby's Epic Yarn. I really liked this game when it came out. I know Kirby's Epic Yarn kind of gets a bad rap. Oh, it's too easy. It's a baby game. Like, people have had full-on mental breakdowns over Kirby's Epic Yarn being too easy. I think it's cute. I think it's a cute game that gets a bad rap, that is really fun. It can be a bitch and a half to 100%. Well, not as hard as some other Kirby games are at 100%. It's obviously no Dark Souls. It's no Hollow Knight or Silksong. But I think this game gets a bad rap. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. I would love a second one. I bought 2 comics, an anime figure of Denji, and thought about a figure of Godzilla, but ended up being a rubber... Oh, yeah, now. Ugh. Don't want to know about that. Don't want to know about those dragons or how bad they are.
Kirby gulped the Metamato right down. Just then, a white sock around the sorcerer's neck began to glow. Then it sucked Kirby up.
It's because, I want to say, I can't remember the developer who did this. My first thought is Good Smile, but that's probably wrong. I know it's HAL, but they worked with somebody else. They did this game. They did Yoshi's Woolly World, which is also a fantastic game. I supposedly it's going to get a Switch port at some point, allegedly. But if we ever get a Yoshi's Woolly World remake, I do highly recommend it. They did Yoshi's Crafted World, which I didn't really care for. And then I want to say it's the same developer who did Princess Peach Showtime. I want to say that's their most recent game. I don't know if they're working on that new Yoshi game, but yeah. No, I think they're an okay developer, and I stand by Kirby's Epic Yarn. But it's been years. It's always still cool.
Apparently, that strange Metamato gave Kirby the power to seamlessly
Yeah.
transform
You know, that's what it's like I have a bunch of stuff just sitting on my desk where it's like I don't know where to put this. Like I've got the Dragon Ale Tiki Breath mug from if you've ever played the game Red Dragon Inn. One of the drinks is called it's like Fire Breath Ale, and they made an actual tiki bug. Yeah, I don't even know if I can't even remember the last time I used Discord. At least that account. Yeah, spoiler alert. I have a super secret second Discord where I, different from the one I created just for the Twitch streams and whatnot. Oh, look how happy and cheery this game is. Because nobody else does, and I mean, I didn't even create it. I don't know. I'm just not. That's just not really what I use Discord for. All right, I'm not there are only 2 things I use Discord for: chatting with friends and submitting speedrun times. No, seriously, that's basically it. And both those I do on the other account. Because, yeah, I don't know. It was there was a fun idea in there, but it's not needed anymore. Well, I mean, if I was bigger or whatnot, maybe it'd be a different story, but I'm not. I'm fine with my less than mediocrity. Oh, I do that, but I also chat with other people who are, speedrunning games for like tips and tricks and like showing off our, PBs, stuff like that. Like, I guess submitting is the wrong word, but you get my point. This game is so cute. I love the music as well. We'll get to the winter world eventually. I remember loving the winter music in this game. Like, it very much gives me like holiday theme. Like, that's the holiday music I love. This is the one that should be on Nintendo Music. So, what's in store for tonight? We got the Kirby. There was a Kirby Air Riders Direct. I did do a live reaction, but of course we're gonna talk about it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that happens. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about that. Like I said, I have like 6.5 pages of notes on the Kirby Air Riders Direct. So good, I watched it twice. Okay, that's actually not true. I watched Failboat watch it. And God, that video was weird. Because he did it early in the morning, so like he couldn't react. So he instead did it with like a soundboard. And that's weird. But, it was so good that even he had to break that.
I'm Prince Fluff. Ever since Yin Yarn the Sorcerer
Yeah,
into 7 pieces,
it's like the whole gifted sub thing. Like, I can never win a gifted sub. Like, I know, oh, people gift like 10, 5 subs, and I just never win one.
Stop it! But before the blob could eat Prince Fluff.
No, that's years. That's from years ago.
Spectacular fashion.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the big thing tonight. We got Kirby stuff. We got some new Switch 2 stuff. There's some new Switch 2, I guess, games. Technically, some of them are announced for other systems as well. But this is a primarily Nintendo podcast. I mean, look at the title of this fucking episode. Ridiculous. So we got some new Switch 2 game stuff. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about Halo. Because why not? We got some new game announcements. And for WIBE, I got one food thing. The only video game I've been playing is Pokemon. And then we got Batman v Superman. And then I got a book thing. I don't have any anime things. Well, okay, technically I could talk about Quintessential Quintuplets, because I did start rewatching the first season. But I'm kind of going to wait until I finish it all. Specifically the movie, because I've never seen the movie before. Even though I know how it ends. And then, yeah, we got a book thing, and that's about it. Degen Corner? What, like, degenerate? Are you making fun of me? Well, spoiler alert. What I've been enjoying is Nintendo, Marvel, and stuff. And food. Actually, we're talking about Sonic Burger. I fucking hate the burgers at Sonic Burger. Actually, this might actually be one of the few exceptions. No. Even though honestly, it sucks being a Nintendo fan right now. There is so much hate and so much misinformation. Like, people hating Nintendo, that's fine. I hate Nintendo a lot as well. Like, I'm kinder to them than others, but, that's the point. We didn't talk about it last week. I like novelty, what can I say? But yeah, I didn't, there's so much misinformation. There are still people who believe Switch 2 games cost $90. We are, what, 4-5 months away from the Switch 2 release, and there are still people who believe games cost $90. And the whole thing with the Pokemon DLC, there are people who believe that Pokemon ZA's DLC is day one on disc DLC. Which, like, the DLC hasn't even released yet. It probably won't release until, like, the end of February at the earliest. Oh, it's a great game. I absolutely love it. God, 8 or 9 out of 10. So much fun. But yeah, no, there's so much misinformation going on about Pokemon. And, like, listen, if you don't like Pokemon, if you think the game looks bad, that's fine. I'm kind of whatever on it. Pokemon games have never looked good. Surprise, surprise. I kind of don't care. Because, that's what I expect from a game with a $13 million budget. This ain't fucking Cyberpunk with a $400 million budget. I know we should expect more from Pokemon, and I do want more from Pokemon, but I'm a realist, not an idealist. Nah, I'm not even gonna entertain that. It's an 8. It's an 8. Maybe a 9 on a good day. Maybe if I could get a fucking shiny. Because I'm 30 hours in, and I'm the only person I know who doesn't have a shiny. I know plenty of people who had found a shiny within the first, few hours. I got nothing. But yeah, no. Being a Nintendo fan, fucking, it's... Again, Nintendo's a fucked up company that in some ways deserves all the hate they get. But on the same time, the misinformation just kills me. Like, if it was just people being like, boo, I hate Nintendo, that'd be fine. But it's the fact that people are like, oh, I can't just hate Nintendo for legitimate reasons. I have to go out and spread all this misinformation. That's what sucks. That's what kills me. Because if it was just boo Nintendo, okay, whatever, I could move on. But then you spread all this misinformation, and it's like, no, you're completely disvaluing your argument. Like, be mad at them for real, not for all this bullshit. It's like that DoorDash driver thing, but it doesn't matter. But I say all that because the one good thing coming out of Nintendo right now. Oh god, yeah, that's some more bullshit. The whole TwitchCon thing? Yeah, fuck TwitchCon. Fuck the CEO. Oh wow, ban me from the platform, see if I care. I've considered switching over to YouTube multiple times. Yeah, no, that's all the TwitchCon stuff super fucked up. And the CEO's response was awful. But yeah, so everything sucks about being a Nintendo fan right now, except for Kirby Air Riders. Having Sakurai come out and talk about Kirby Air Riders, this masterpiece of a game that it is going to be. All the love, sweat, blood, tears put into this thing to truly make something amazing. It is the one good part of being a Nintendo fan right now. Everything else just kind of sucks. But that's like the one good thing. Cool. See, I don't really watch... The only thing I've seen Emeru on is like collab with other people or maybe whine about it. I'm sure they've guessed it at some point. But other than that, yeah, I don't watch much Twitch. What can I say? I stream here every week. I really only watch like 2 or 3 people. Yeah, I figured as much. So yeah, so the main thing we're talking is Kirby, but of course, Halo, and a bunch of Switch games, you know. We finally got... There's one release date I have been waiting months for, that we finally got this week. Oh, we stole their love. So I'm very excited that we finally have a release date for that. That's great. Yeah, exactly. What was I... Oh, Pokemon. The new Pokemon game has an entire subplot about their... Because one of the characters is a Twitch streamer. They don't use Twitch, obviously. But they have a whole subplot about how, while they're a fan of this Twitch streamer, they don't want to be too big of a fan, because at that point it just becomes parasocial. Like, literally, that's a whole thing in the new Pokemon game. I'm not making that up, by the way. That is for real a plot point in the new game. I know, I've been reading some books as well. We'll get to all that later, obviously. Okay, I've been rambling on. I should talk about Kirby. We have a lot of Kirby. Probably not. Because I'm not caught up on the anime. So, probably not. You probably don't have to see it. Or, I don't know. But, I'm not... Nope, I'm not even caught up. I say that as if I've only watched, like, a few episodes. I don't watch... Yeah, exactly. I only watch obscure shows about women who get isekai'd into their favorite video game and then fall in love with the main heroine. That's all I watch. Isn't that very obvious by everything I've talked about the past, like, few weeks? Is that's all I watch for some stupid fucking reason? Is it really only... For some reason, I thought there was a second season. I don't know. Are there any lesbians in One Piece? Don't answer that. And no, I obviously don't watch One Piece. The longest anime I've ever watched is Fairy Tail, and that was pushing it for me. All right, let's talk about Kirby. Let's talk about Kirby. So we got our big Kirby Air Riders Direct. Sakurai came out and for an hour talked about this new thing. I've seen one of those things. Actually, I think I've seen two. But I'm not going to say which two. Also throw Bleach on there. If you throw Bleach on there. Oh, and Inuyasha. If you throw Inuyasha, that makes 4. I think those two are culturally relevant. Yeah, no, that's why I said, because that was my first thought, it was that character. Don't remember their name, but I know who they are. Oh, for shame. For shame. Actually, that's perfectly fine. Bleach is a weird show. Yeah. Okay, so Sakurai, I love listening to Sakurai talk about video games. He has a very interesting perspective. I like hearing what he's got to say. He's got a lot to say. I kind of wish that I kind of wish more developers did what Sakurai did, where you just get the lead developer to sit down and talk about their game for an hour. I know games are made by teams of literally hundreds of people. And, you know, just picking one person to kind of do that, that's usually where you get a Sean Murray situation. But it's just very entertaining to watch. You know, I like watching people with passion talk about their thing they're passionate about. And Sakurai provides that in spades. So I was excited for the Kirby Air Riders Direct. I'm also a fan of Kirby Air Riders, obviously. You know, I played the original on GameCube. Admittedly, I didn't play it until well into, like, the Wii generation. But still, you know, I've played it. So, sitting down, I was very excited for this. The first thing that was revealed was the return of Top Ride. If you've never played the original Kirby Air Ride, there were 3 modes. There was Air Ride, which is the standard racing mode, City Trial, everybody's favorite mode, and then Top Ride, which was like a Top Ride slot car style racer mode that, you know, it was meant to be more casual. It was meant to be, you know, a little bit more lighthearted. Like, Sakurai literally calls out in the Direct that, like, can't we just add game modes that are meant to be fun? Like, is that such a problem, Smash Bros. Community? And yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I don't think anybody hates Top Ride, but I can't think of anybody who loves Top Ride. Oh, I know nothing about cars. I am the exact wrong person to ask about that. And for your first car, you should definitely get something cheap and cheap and easy, and then save up for something you want. Oh, I'm not doxing myself. I'm not gonna say. Yeah. So I don't know anybody who's a fan of Top Ride. Top Ride is something that exists, that people play. You know, when you boot it up, you play it once, and that's it. That's all anybody ever thinks of Top Ride. But, you know, they brought Top Ride back. And Sakurai even makes a joke about how, yeah, even to his surprise. I'm not going to tell you. That would be doxing. Talking about doxing is doxing. I'm being hyperbolic. So yeah, it's cool that Top Ride is back. I definitely didn't need it to come back. There's a part of me that would have been like, I'd rather have a second City Trial map, or just a remake of the original City Trial map. I would have also taken that over bringing Top Ride back. But later on in the presentation, Sakurai says that this Kirby Air Riders is meant to be the definitive Air Ride game. That, you know, their goal is that, you know, Air Ride isn't going to be the next Super Smash Bros. We're not going to see a new Smash Bros. We're not going to see a new Kirby Air Riders once per generation. This is kind of a one and done thing. But this one's supposed to be special. That's why they brought back Top Ride. They've talked about how there's new camera controls. That, you know, in the original Top Ride, you could see the whole map. In this one, if you want a zoomed in view just on your racer, you can do that. But if you want the whole map, you can also do that as well. You can use any machine in any cart or any character, racer, rider. Because in the original Top Ride, you could either use the Free Star or the Steer Star. In this one, you can use anything, and you can pick which control scheme you want. Do you want free controls, or do you want steer controls? That's fantastic. Making that little change so that way anybody can do anything. My car's older than that. But yeah, I think that's great. Every course in the game is going to get an associated track. Presumably, they're also remaking the tracks from the original, just, you know, a little bigger and wider. And it's going to be 8-player racers. And I'm not going to say, because, again, that would be doxing. No, I ain't giving you nothing. It's an old car. That's all I'll say. It's older than you. Let's put it like that. Oh. Yeah, if you put a lot of love and care into a car, then you can make those things last. So yeah, I think it's cool that Top Riders is back. There is no reason for this game mode to come reverse. Yeah, basically. That's basically Steve's room. Yeah, there is no reason for Top Ride to come back. Honestly, again, I've been making this joke for a few weeks that Top Ride only has 2 fans. Like, that's been the running joke. And I completely agree. Top Ride really only has 2 fans. But those 2 fans are loving it. They're up high, they're celebrating, because Top Ride came back somehow. Somehow Top Ride returns. I don't know. I'd guess, just coincidence. After that, they revealed the new sort of game mode. There's a new mode in Kirby Air Riders called Road Trip. And from what I can tell, this is basically the story mode or the classic mode. You know, it's supposed to be the mode where basically how it works is you'll start off on like going through this track and you'll have to pick between 3 options. And while you're playing, you're using a star, you're building it up to add more stats, and eventually you're going to fight bosses, you're going to face obstacles. There's a lot of references in this road trip mode. Like we see, is her name Ribbon from Kirby and the Canvas Curse, or Rainbow Curse, whichever one. I don't think her name's Ribbon, that doesn't sound right. Adeline? No, Adeline's the painter. We see Glitch.exe, we see the castle, we see the magma boss from Kirby 64. There's a lot of fun Kirby references in this road trip mode. That's really cool. I love seeing all these references. We also have that mysterious rider, who later on he revealed the name is Zora, Z-O-R-A-H. Presumably there'll be other bosses, you know, the Dedede, Star Dreamer, or Galactic Nova, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The other thing, Nightmare, like presumably some of that will show up here as well. All looks great. I think the idea of them having like a story mode, like yeah, we're never gonna have Super Smash Bros. Brawl again. But that's fine. I don't need Super Smash Bros. Brawl as long as it's fun. And the idea of like, hey, you're starting off a new journey, building a new car, kind of like City Trial, but like slower paced, and you're not restarting every time. I think that's a good idea. I think there's some fun to be had there. My Joe Bart videos. Yeah, I've been falling asleep to Floyd Son. That's been the Floyd Son Octodad video. I literally the only reason I've started late this week and last week is because I was watching Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Normally I try to start these things at like 9. But sometimes that's how it goes. God, we've already been going for half an hour. Holy shit, we still have so much more to do. Yeah, have a good night. After that, so when talking about Mario Kart, in the lead up to Mario Kart World, I gave a bunch of predictions. I gave a list of like, hey, here's my 10 predictions for Mario Kart World. Of those 10 predictions, I think I only got like a single one correct. Most of my predictions for Mario Kart World ended up being completely wrong. Like, that just clearly wasn't the game Mario Kart World was trying to be. Now we come here to Kirby, and literally almost all 10 of my predictions are in Kirby. Everything I wanted Mario Kart World to be, Kirby is. And I think that's fantastic. The first one here is licenses. So you're able to create a license, It can, you have your name on it. It has a title. You have a list of titles that you can choose from. You can put an icon on it. You can do different backgrounds. And, there's a bunch of, like, classic, like, green greens and whatnot. There's 8-bit Kirby's. I'm sure there's an Epic Yarn one in there somewheres. You can put stickers on your license. You get your classic beam attacks. That's fun. This should have been in Mario Kart. Mario Kart had the chance to do... Admittedly, I think I said it was going to be a license plate, whereas this is a driver's license. But it's the same idea. It's the same thought of customization that Mario Kart World kind of has, but it's so piss poor and barely thought out, whereas this is exactly what I wanted to be. And it looks fantastic. Everything here in the Create a License thing looks great. I'm so excited for it. It just as that little bit of customization. It's the little bit that goes a long way. A little bit of customization adds so much charm to the game. There's the paddock. So the paddock is kind of like your online multiplayer lobby. You can go there, you can see a bunch of different carts that other people are using. You can use the terminal to start enjoying matches. There's a message system. So if you've ever played Splatoon, the paddock is basically the online multiplayer lobby from Splatoon. Admittedly, I don't remember what their name for it is, like the shoal. I think it's the shoal, that sounds right. It's basically the same idea. It's like an online multiplayer lobby where you can see your friends, you can quickly join matches. But this, it's the same idea, basically. I like the messaging system, because basically you hold one, direction to pull up a message, and then you get each one gets you, like, a selection of 4. It kind of reminds me of, like, the Radiant wheels from Mario Maker 2. I definitely, one of my problems with Splatoon is that its messaging system, it's just booyah and help me. It's like, or I think it's like over here. The Splatoon 2 messaging system, all Splatoon games really, is so bare bones and basic. I really hope Splatoon 4 or Raiders or whatever the hell is next takes a hint from this messaging system. This is the right way to do things. It's not too complicated. It's not like people adding in their own messages. Yes, would voice chat be better? Sure. But one of the messages is literally just like, hey, you want a voice chat? This is the right way to do things. I really hope Splatoon learn, because I do definitely feel a lot of Splatoon's influence in this. So I really hope Splatoon takes some influence from it, right? The opposite. If this is taking influence from Splatoon, kind of. Again, it's in a very Nintendo way. That Nintendo doesn't acknowledge that other games exist, because they really don't. I want them to take influence from this. Next up, he talked about copy abilities. Some of these we already kind of knew about. We knew Needle was in the game. We knew Ice was in the game. We knew Fighting was in the game. Rest is back, of course. Where you just fall asleep and it leaves you to the mercy of the wheel. That makes sense. But some of the new ones, Drill is in the game. From the most recent, Forgotten Lands. Yeah, Drill is in this game. That actually kind of surprises me. I wouldn't expect for Drill to be in this. No, that's cool. Because there's not actually that many Forgotten Lands references. It's literally just Drill, and then you fight, like, the turtle boss in the road trip mode. Because, like, Elflin's not in this game, as far as we know. But that's all cool. Flash is in this game, and Flash is like a laser beam. Because normally Flash is like a light bulb. And then from, God, is it Amazing Mirror? Rocket is in this game. I know Rocket might not originally come from Amazing Mirror, but that's usually the one I think of. Maybe I'm thinking of Ball, actually. Never mind. Either way, Rocket's in the game. That's cool. They talked about classes. So classes are displayed on your license plate. And it's based on your global wind power. Now, global wind power was a thing in Smash Ultimate, but it works different in this game. I'm admittedly not entirely sure how. I think in Smash Ultimate, global wind power was based on like how well you're doing with a character, Whereas this is how good, like, you are compared to every other player. Like, oh, you know, if your global win power is like 100,000, that means you're the 100,000th best player in the world. Or something like that. That's kind of how I understood it. Either way, I think it is interesting. And then there is a class system, which I think Smash Ultimate had a class system as well. And normally, right, class systems in most games are based on, like, letters. So, you know, you have A tier, you have B tier, C tier, S tier. You know, that's how it works in most games, unless you're, like, bronze, silver, gold. That's also a pretty common one, or, you know, Master Guardian Elite, or whatever the hell CSGO uses, which I think is a mix of them. This game, though, is using colors and shapes. So there's each color has a shape associated with it, and that's your rank. So at, like, the bottom, you have orange, which is a cube, and that's your lowest rank. Then above that, you have red triangle. There's, like, green star, purple octagon. I kind of wish it was like, oh, you know, the 3-sided shape was your lowest tier, and then, like, a 10-sided shape was your highest tier. Like, I kind of wish it went up the more points you had, the more, like, sides the shape had. Instead, like, the top tier is, like, a 6-sided, like, it's not a hexagon, but it's, like, 6-sided, like, blue thing. Either way, you know, I like that it's different. And then they explain that each mode has its own class. So it's like, okay, if you're, you know, you could be highly ranked in city trials, but that doesn't mean you're highly ranked in top right. You know, each mode does their own things. That's good. Because, again, I think Smash Ultimate, I know for, like, Elite Smash, you had to unlock characters. You know, each character kind of had their own Elite Smash unlock. Next up, they talked about some of the new courses. There's Airtopia Ruins, which is, you know, question block ruins, but better. I don't know, I actually do really like question block ruins. It's a really good course. There's Crystalline Fissure. Kirby just has good crystal levels. I mean, Great Cave Offensive may be an awful stage in Smash Bros., but visually, I love the looks of it. It's a great Battlefield and Omega stage. Steam Gust Forge is, you know, your steampunk stage. And then there's a stage that's just question mark. Like, they didn't give us the name of the stage, but it's like robotic. It's all robotic. And you know what I think it might be? At one point, you see Kirby drive past, like, a heart. This, like, giant pink heart. And it reminds me of the Star Dream core from Planet Robobot. I don't know if it's the Star Dream core from Planet Robobot, because admittedly, I think the Star Dream core was a little bit more metallic. But that's honestly what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Star Dream core. Kind of has, you know, that similar, like, white aesthetic of the Clockwork Star and the Star Dreamer. So I'm not going to say that's totally a thing, but that's definitely what it reminds me of. We also found out that all the original tracks from the original Kirby Air Ride are going to be in this game. All the music has been remastered, and it's all here. That's very exciting. That's, you know, your Mario Kart move. And there are going to be 18 total courses. Now, I know from Mario Kart fans, you know, the minimum is usually, what, 24? So, I mean, the new game had, what, 30 courses? I'm gonna say 30. So, you know, this might seem a little small, and it kind of is, but I don't mind. I really don't mind at all. The one thing, again, I kind of said it earlier, is when you're bringing back presumably all the top ride courses, you're bringing back all the air ride courses, I'm surprised they're not bringing back the original city trial map. Like, yeah, Skya looks fantastic. I'm very excited to go to Skya. But I thought that would have been cool as well. And then Sakurai said that you're not going to start the game with all the courses. You have to unlock them. But kind of like Smash Ultimate, he tried to make them easy to unlock. Because if you played Smash Ultimate, you basically unlock a new character every, like, few minutes, every few rounds, unless you play the story mode. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same here. Like, you'll unlock one every few matches, or, you know, if you do the story mode, or, you know, it's going to also be, like, on the checklist. So yeah, I'm assuming it's not going to be a bad thing. Next up, they talked about Swap Relay. This is a version of Air Ride. So in Smash Bros, there is a swap mode where each stock is a different character. It's a very fun mode that people just don't play for some, because it doesn't have online multiplayer. You know, you can only play it locally with friends. So not that many people really play the swap mode, or whatever it's called in Smash Bros. But this one, it's probably going to be the same, you know, not that many people are going to play it. But I like the idea of it. And it's basically, you do a 3-lap race. And each lap, you're doing a different machine. So, like, maybe on the first one, you use the Warp Star. Second one, you use the Shadow Star. And then the third one, you use the Tank Star. That's a fun idea. Sakurai's like, oh, you could treat it like a relay race. Where, like, you know, you have 3 people. And each does a different cart. That's cool. I like that. Again, it's not something that needed to be there. Like, in Smash Bros, it made more sense, you know, each character being a stock. I think that's a good idea. But I still think this is neat that it's here. They talked about City Trial next. We have Team Battle. So, again, this is something that didn't need to be here, but it's cool that it is. Basically, in City Trial, it can be 2 teams of 8. So you could have a red team and a blue team, kind of like the Swap Relay. And each team, you know, is competing for themselves. At the end, they'll do the stadiums. And whoever gets the most wins or the most points in the stadium will count as the overall winner. That's great. I think that's a lot of fun. That's a good twist. You know, they still talk about how, like, stadiums can be, like, divvied up amongst people, but the points still all shake out in the end. Nice. They talked about City Trial items. There's a speed up item that, you know, obviously speeds you up. There's a special up, which just fills your special up gauge. There's Dizzy Beam, which reverses your controls of your opponents. I said this on stream when we were live reacting. My least favorite Smash Bros. Item is Ramblin's Evil Mushroom. That's the item that you hit another player with it, and it temporarily reverses their controls. I hate that item. I do not have fun with Ramblin's Evil Mushroom. I think Smash Bros. With items gets a bad rap. Oh, you know, I feel like most Smash Bros. Players, at least most mainline Smash Bros. Players, are too obsessed. Come on. There we go. I was kind of worried I was going to fall into a pit. I think too many Smash Bros. Players are obsessed with competitive Smash Bros. That, you know, given the chance, they will optimize the fun out of Smash Bros. And personally, Sakurai hates them for it. Like, I think he hates them less now than he used to. Like, I'm pretty sure during, like, the Brawl in 4 era, he fucking hated competitive Smash Bros. Fans. But, like, nowadays, I think he's mellowed out a little bit more. And yeah, same thing here. Like, I don't... like, he's clearly putting a lot of stuff for people who want competitive Air Ride. But he still wants the game to be fun at the end of the day. And given the chance, there are certain Air Ride fans who will optimize the fun out of the game. But yeah, I think Smash Bros. With items has its place, and I feel like too many people give it a bad rap. Too many people just refuse to play with items, and it's just kind of boring. But that's a rant for another day. There's an item catcher, which is like a magnet. You know, it'll bring items that are close by. And, you know, stats and whatnot. There's fireworks. The firework cannon is back. There's a laser swipe. So it's, you know, a giant beam attack that can swipe across large portions of the map. There's multi-missile. It's multiple missiles. There's size up, you can make yourself bigger, and it's not like a little bit. It's not like the mushroom in Smash Bros. Where you like double in size. No, you get like 4 or 5 times. You get 6 or 7 times bigger. I know I don't have a camera, but trust me, I'm doing the hand motion. There's a Mega Cannon. I admittedly don't remember what Mega Cannon was. What the fuck was Mega Cannon? I'm sure it was something. They revealed the sandbag is in this game. You know, the sandbag from Smash Bros. And if you beat it up, it'll drop stats. That's neat. The Dragoon pieces are back. And the Hydra pieces are back. You know, the Dragoon's famous as an item in Smash Bros. But, you know, it started in Kirby Air Ride. And yep, it's here. You can get all 3 pieces. And the Hydra is in this one. So you can also get the Hydra. You know, the Dragoon is the fast one. Hydra is the powerful one. If I remember correctly. I'm a little rusty on that. I kind of was hoping there was going to be a third one. That would have been cool. But, you know, it's cool that they're back. Obviously, they were going to be back. With everything else that's happened in this game, of course they were going to be back. And then they explain that, you know, with 16 people playing City Trial at the same time, getting all 3 of those pieces is kind of a pain. So basically they explain that once 2 pieces are together, they'll stay together forever. So, as you know, you can combine them. If somebody dies with 2 of the pieces, they're not just going to go like flying and reset. No, you can go get both pieces. They'll stay combined. Just to make things a little easier. They talked about some Skya sightseeing. It was a lot of things we already knew, like the volcano. They talked about how there's the floating sky garden. But there's also another island. Something that I hadn't seen a single person say. There's another island way off in the distance in Skya. That's kind of cool. There's another dimension. You can go back to the moon. I want to say that was a thing in the original. I'm a little rusty though, but that for some reason I remember the moon in the original. But I might just be misremembering. Maybe I'm thinking of one of the stages or something. There's a spider nest area, which, speaking of spiders, they talked about riders in Taranza. Taranza's in this game, and he's one of the riders. You know, another game where he can cry about his dead girlfriend that he may or may not have helped Kirby kill. Definitely did. I don't know, I like Taranza. You know. I'm surprised Spider isn't one of the copy abilities, though. There's Lololo and La La La, who were originally their own characters made by HAL, and then eventually showed up in Kirby games. Admittedly, I can't remember the last Kirby game they were in. My first thought is Star Allies, but that may be wrong. But hey, they're back, and they're basically an Ice Climbers, right? It's 2 characters for the price of 1. That's cool. DeRoach is in the game. You know, once they started revealing characters like, you know, Susie and Magalore, I knew Taranza, DeRoach, and Marks were going to be in this game. Like, they're all popular, you know, semi-antagonists. They were all obviously going to come back. The one I'm interested to know if they're going to be playable, because I don't think this is every character. This could be every character. I'm not going to write that off. But I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't every character. And the one I would be surprised, who hasn't been playable in any of the previous games, is Dark Matter. Especially with this whole Zora thing that kind of looks like DDD fused with Dark Matter. Again, I could see Dark Matter either being a boss or a playable character. And we'll talk about 02 in a little bit. But yeah, DeRoach is here. I like DeRoach. Again, Kirby Squeak Squad, one of the weaker games in the series. You know, people don't consider it very highly, kind of like Epic Yarn here. But I like Squeak Squad. It has a very special place in my heart. So it's cool to see it there. Rocky, you know, Rocky's playable. Okay. Rick, just Rick though. Not Rick, Ku, and Kine like Star Allies. Just Rick. What does that mean for Ku and Kine? Are they going to also be playable? Who knows? Who knows? But hey, Rick's here. Scarfy's playable, and of course they have their angry ability, and when they get angry, they get faster. That just makes sense. You know, that's cool. Marks, of course, Marks. Sakurai likes Marks. You know, I think regardless of if Sakurai included new characters or not, in some way, shape, or form, Marks was going to be a character in this game. Because, I mean, they were one of the, like, 6 bosses in the story mode of Smash Ultimate. Obviously, Marks was going to be a character. Like, I'm just surprised it wasn't in the first reveal. Like, I could have seen the first reveal being Marks and then saving Magalore for this one. But hey, it's cool that Marks is here. We got our first Echo Fighter, that being Waddle Dee. Waddle Dee is in this game. I pulled that too early. But not so it's Bandana Dee is obviously a playable character. But so is Waddle Dee. The only difference, Waddle Dee is a little faster than Bandana Dee. That's it. Other than that, they seem to basically be the same character. Okay. And it looks like, right, Bandana Dee has like a spear ability, whereas Waddle Dee turns golden. That's cool. They talked about machines. Now, I know last time we talked about this, there were a lot of machines that I was like, oh, that's a new machine. Oh, wait, no, that was actually in the original and I just completely forgot. This one, the first one we got was the Transform Star. The Transform Star is definitely a new machine. Its whole gimmick is that it can switch between a flying star and a bike. That's cool. That's a cool ability. I like that. I don't know how much I'd use it, but it's cool that it exists. We got the Formula Star, the Hop Star, which, you know, can hop still. I'm pretty sure the Hop Star was in the original. I think the Formula Star was. The Jet Star, I also think was in the original. The Wheelie Scooter? The Wheelie Scooter's back. That's another one. The Bull Tank, which I don't remember on that. I couldn't tell you about that one. And yeah. And of course, that's not all of them as well. Later on, when they do the whole gummy thing, they show another gummy of a machine that they haven't revealed yet. So obviously, they haven't shown everything. They talked about voices. That this game, well, you know, the characters don't have voices like we traditionally think. They're going to have an announcer. So there are announcers that, you know, they come in before the race to introduce the race. During the race, they talk about, like, oh, you know, here's the vehicle you picked up in City Trial. Here's the copy ability you just got. Hey, you know, here's, like, an event that's happening. You know, there are different announcer and narrator voices. In the story mode's road trip, there's a narrator and an announcer, and you could have a different person be the announcer and the narrator. They talked about the Japanese voice actors, but they didn't talk about the English ones. Because there are 2 voice actors for each region, and there are... or I guess 2 voice actors for each language. There's a male and a female. And there are 12 languages total. I say 12 with an asterisk, because technically there are 2 Spanishes. There's Spain Spanish and Latin America Spanish. And there are 2 Chinese, simplified and traditional. Which, I mean, to be fair, that's becoming more and more of a common practice. So none of that really surprises me. Well, actually, the Spanish one I see like the Chinese one we see all the time. Nintendo, since, God, Pokemon X and Y, or one of the Pokemon games, maybe Sword and Shield, has been doing simplified and traditional Chinese. Probably Sword and Shield. But this is the first one where I can think of, you know, especially with voice acting, because you know the Pokemon Company hates voice acting. I mean, God, how do they expect to do it on a $13 million budget? For fuck's sake. But yeah, but I'm surprised that, you know, like, I would think in each region they would talk about that region's voice actors, but no. Admittedly, the American voice actor might be Xander Mobius, the guy who is the voice actor for Smash Bros., but I'm not 100% on that. I can't peg voices like that, so I'd have no idea. And then we have no idea who the female is. We only got the Japanese ones, so yeah. But I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I like the customization, that no matter where you are, you can pick any one. That's nice. They talked about time attack. You know, you're competing for the best time over a set number of laps, or you can do the best run on a single lap. It keeps records for each machine. Because, like, if you played Mario Kart and, like, you try to do time trials, you're gonna have to use, you know, Wario on the blooper. Because that's the good car. Anything else, it's just like, no, you're not gonna break any records. In this game, each vehicle has its own record. Now, I cannot tell if you can share those records, like, online, or, like, if there are, like, ghost data. Like, it seems like there is personal ghost data, but it doesn't sound like you can share ghost data online if there's going to be, like, online competitions. Like, of course, people will still, you know, speedrun.com will have a category for each map, probably still. But I like that it's broken up by each vehicle. I think that's fun. I think that makes things more interesting. Because the idea of, like, oh yeah, I have the world record on the Wing Star. Meanwhile, some other jabroni has the record on the Tank Star. That's interesting. I think that just makes you know, that encourages people to use different vehicles. Whereas, you know, in Mario Kart, everybody's going to do the exact same fucking thing. So that's for the air ride mode. For city trials, there's free run. This just allows you to explore Skya at your own leisure. There's a garage in this mode that allows you to just pick up any vehicle you want. You can pick up your smartphone, your Kirby and the Amazing Mirror themed smartphone. Because yes, Kirby has had a cell phone for like 20 years. And you could call any vehicle to you. There's a new star exclusively in the free run mode called the Flight Star. And it basically has a maxed flight stat. So you can specifically use that star to fly over to like the distant islands or to any other number of things. While on the Flight Star, you can hold down the Y button and you'll leave like trails in the sky. So if you want to write like Fantastic Four, you could do that. They also talked about the photo mode, that this game will have a photo mode. It might just be in that mode. It might be in other places. Either way, you know, it's a game. It's a Nintendo game in 2025. Of course it has a photo mode. They all do. They talked about some city trial events, because, you know, while you're playing city trial, certain events will happen. There's a rare boxes event that spawns a bunch of rare boxes, but also some fake ones. There's a treasure chest where it'll spawn a treasure chest, potentially from Kirby Squeak Squad, that spawns with a corresponding key that you have to find. There's a big wheelie event where a big wheelie comes in and fucks shit up. There's stat rings where you could like fly through these stat rings and they like randomize what stats you get. There's the raining giant Gordos, which we saw last time. There's a UFO one where everyone turns into UFOs. It doesn't entirely look like the UFO power-up from, you know, some of the previous Kirby games, but it's still cool nevertheless. There's an event that causes the legendary machines to appear, and it kind of looks like they'll attack the player, but maybe you'll be able to, like, steal it. Not entirely sure, but hey, you know, that brings more of the legendary things into play. And then the coolest one, which they saved for last, the battleship Halberd will attack. It'll show up flying very high up in the map, and presumably, you know, it might rain down barrages on enemies, but if you fly up, you'll be able to fly up onto the Halberd, and it'll have, like, stats and whatnot on it that you can get for your vehicle. That's cool. I love that. That's a fantastic detail. So excited for that. From there, they talked about stadiums. That there's going to be basically a mode that just allows you to play the stadiums. It reminds me a lot of, like, if you've played a Mario Party, you know how there's like a free play where you can just play all the mini games and with no board games. It kind of feels like that. You can just play any of the stadiums you want and not have to worry about, like, you know, doing the city trial, building up all the stats. So that's good. They revealed some of the new stadiums. There's Button Rush, where you have to hit a bunch of buttons. There's High Jump, which is kind of like distance, but you just go as high as you possibly can, which I feel like was a mode already, but I'm not entirely... Again, I think the original game only had like 5 stadiums. So I'm definitely misremembering. There's Big Battle, where, you know, players compete to get, like, the big an item, and then use that to defeat their opponents. Oval Circuit is basically just a baby park race. You know, who can be the fastest on Baby Park. There's Rail Panic, which is, you know, a map made primarily of rails, where you have to switch between them to avoid obstacles. Beam Gauntlet is an obstacle course where you have to dodge, like, laser beams. Like, you know, like Secret Agent style laser beams. Okay, you know, beam attack, what else is new? And then the final one, the big one, versus boss. So in the original Kirby Air Ride, there was a boss against King Dedede. But since King Dedede is a playable character, I mean, technically he was an Air Ride as well, but that's semantics, let's not focus on that, or Meta Knight. And this one, there's a boss against Robo Dedede. Robo Dedede is a transformer. Like, literally, it is a robot, like a car, that can turn into a giant penguin. And it looks awesome. Like, the art style, the animation is all so good. The transformation effect looks fantastic. I think it's great. You work together to defeat the boss. There's a lot where you can press it on the stick to lock on with the camera. So that way, you know, if you ever lose track of the boss, you can easily get it back. And then for the controls, it uses the top spin controls, or top ride. So you can either choose between free or steer controls, depending on what you want to use. And then they confirm that Robo Dedede is not going to be the only boss. That one of them is going to be Nightmare, which is the final boss of Kirby's Adventure. And then the other one is going to be 02, the final boss of Kirby 64. That's awesome. I expect Dark Matter to show up at some point. But 02, because we haven't, the Dark Matter trilogy was a long time ago. And we really haven't seen anything of Dark Matter. Like, yes, we've seen Dark Matter entities, but actual, like, Dark Matter, we really haven't seen since 02 and Kirby 64. You could argue we haven't because, you know, Kirby kills 02, but still, that's a good deep cut. I like that. Okay, that's actually technically a lie. I know Dark Matter did show up in Planet Robobot, but you get my point. After that, they talked about checklists. You know, for all the people who are like, oh, Nintendo games don't have achievements. A lot of Nintendo games actually do have achievements. They're just internal. Like in Xbox or PlayStation, you know, there are achievements and trophies. Those are external. You know, you can share them with friends. In Nintendo games, they're all just built into the game. And no game does this better than, you know, Sakurai. Sakurai makes these giant checklists, these checkerboards, with hundreds of achievements. And you know, the original Kirby Air Ride had a checklist. Someone actually did a checklist speedrun at AGDQ this year. Or maybe it was SGDQ. At one of the GDQs recently. Someone did a Kirby Air Ride checklist speedrun. That was pretty cool. So yeah, you know, the checklists are back. They're broken up into different modes. So, you know, Road Trip has one, Air Ride has one, City Trial has one, Top Spin has one, and then Online has one. And, you know, for completing different things on the checklist, you get different rewards, you can unlock characters, you can unlock customization pieces, new carts, new stages, new stadiums. The one thing he did confirm is that none of it is locked behind online. So if you're worried about like, oh, well, you know, I have to do all the online checklist stuff, but I'm not very good at the game, you don't have to worry about it. None of the important stuff is going to be locked behind the online, which is definitely the right way to go. They did also confirm that certain, like, characters will appear multiple times in the checklist. So, like, you know, maybe you could get the checklist by playing City Trial to get, like, Waddle Doo. But then other times you can get it by playing Air Ride. That's great. But he specifically says that, you know, when you get the character twice, that'll just unlock one of the skins. So, you know, we see like a golden Waddle Dee skin. We see a black Waddle Doo. This did, though, confirm that Galactonite and Dark Meta Knight are not in this game as characters. They are only skins. Because we did see the Galactonite in the Dark Meta Knight skins during this part of the thing. After that, he talked about specials. We got to see some of the specials. Golden Waddle Dee has a special that turns it into one of those golden quick Waddle Dees. That's cool. I know Failboat was excited. Gooey turns into mock dark matter, which, you know, they've been known to do. Rocky turns into a meteor, whatever that means. Knuckle Joe does the Knuckle Rush. Rip Roar and Rick just goes really fast, and I've seen people meme it. And then Marks becomes their true form, and when they hit other racers, they like trap them in the brambles they create. All looking good. Next up, they talked about My Machine. So one of the unlockables you can get from the checklist is machine parts that you can use to customize the machine. You can put different skins on it. You can put stickers on it. So you can like they show one that was like a warp star customized to look like a claw machine that used the stickers of like, oh, it's like it's pulling out a Kirby from a claw machine. There are accessories you can put on. There's like keychains. There's a little lamp, teddy bears, all cute stuff like that. Again, something I kind of did predict for Mario Kart World. That I know, okay, Mario Kart 8 had, you know, its 3-tier customization, which I do like, and I am kind of glad Mario Kart World got away from it. Because I also don't mind Mario Kart World system, but some basic kart customization other than the stupid badge would have been nice. This reminds me of a Cuphead level. This reminds me of the last, Cuphead, you know, where you're on the octopus. So you can basically create your own custom machines, and then there is a machine market where you can upload your machines and other people can buy them. Now it all uses in-game currency, you know, this isn't CSGO skins and that collapsed market that, you know, just happened. No, this is just like a fun little in-game thing, and based on like how many people are buying your skin, it'll go up and down in price. It's meant for fun. Like, I don't, like, if somebody else buys your skin, it sounded like you didn't even get the money from it, which I think is fine. It's meant to be cute. Then they talked about player customization, specifically hats. There's going to be hats in the game. Any character can wear any hat. They showed off a bunch of them. There's a baseball cap, a crown. There's a top hat, but it's the magician's hat from the magician ability. That's cool. There's a ribbon, an onigiri, a donut. There's sunglasses, bullhorns, a flower, a samurai helmet. Just a bunch of fun little customization things. Any character can wear anything. However, while you're playing the game, the copy ability does take priority. So, like, let's say you pick up the sword copy ability, it'll put on the sword hat and then replace your, like, witch hat, which, you know, then you can, after it wears off, you'll put back on your witch hat. I think that's fine. They talked about miles, because there's going to be like a whole mile shop where you can buy the customization and the hats and whatnot, as well as getting them through the checklist. Again, like Smash Bros. All the in-game currency, you know, this isn't microtransactions, this isn't a fucking Call of Duty or a FIFA or a Madden. No, you play the game, you get in-game currency, and then, yeah, you can use it to buy stuff. Of course, not everything is able to be bought. One of the things they specifically highlight is the gummies. Basically, like, let's say you're playing online, and you race against somebody in, like, the Shadow Star, the Wing Star, and the Tank Star. After the race, you will unlock those as gummies. What do the gummies do? Nothing. It wouldn't be a Sakurai game without a feature that does absolutely nothing. You know, the most famous example is Palutena's Guidance from Kid Icarus, where there's like this Palutena fountain you can unlock, and it does nothing. You can donate like hearts to it, and Palutena will get closer, but that's it. That's all that'll happen. Like, it doesn't actually do anything. And it's the same way here. Like, you can put these gummies in like a physics box, and they'll like, you could like hit them with swords and magnetize them, and it'll do stupid shit like that. But it doesn't actually like do anything. Beam attack. I saw the opportunity, I took it. So yeah, the gummies are just there for dumb fun. They're not actually important at all, but it's a Sakurai game. It's not only what I expect, it's what I want. I want, like, when the Pokemon Company puts in their little bullshit things that don't matter, people hate them. When Sakurai does it, we love it, and we want him to do it. They talked about the garage. Hey, another thing I predicted for Mario Kart World, you're going to be able to have a garage where you can show off your custom machines. You'll be able to upgrade it, put in different backgrounds, different layouts. Sounds like a lot of fun. A fantastic idea that 1000% should have been in the new Mario Kart. And it's such a massive oversight that they didn't let you make a garage. But it's here in Kirby, because Kirby does what Mario Kart don't. And I couldn't tell you if Sonic has a garage or not. I really haven't played as that, so what can I say? I only played the demos. Shit. They talked about music. So they're in the paddock, there is like a jukebox. But, they talked about how there's a bunch of returning music. It's kind of doing the Smash Bros. Thing where you've got, the classic music and you've got remixes. There's two composers, Shogo Sakai and then Noriyuki Iwade, who are, they both have history working on, Smash Bros. Or Kirby Air Ride or Kid Icarus Uprising. And yeah, and then this game's kind of going to work like, how in Smash Bros. You can like customize the music. So you can be like, oh, well, I want this song to play on this stage. Or maybe I want this song to play a lot, but I don't want this song to play that much. You can kind of do the same thing here. And then, of course, they added some more songs to Nintendo Music. They talked about the main menu. So the main menu, Smash Bros. Main menus all kind of look the same. Sakurai very clearly has a design aesthetic for his games that he uses on all of his menus. I'm like 90% sure in my memory that the reason why Sakurai menus all look the same is because his wife designs them. His wife is the menu designer. So this game also has, a menu that reminds me of other Sakurai games. But the big difference is that it's diegetic. So it exists within the world of the game. Specifically, it's on like a desk, and all the things are like little note cards. To open the checklist, you pull out a clipboard. There's like a file folder that has like different things that's like online. Extras, collections. Your cursor is like a little like plastic model of Kirby. That's all really neat. Most Sakurai menus just kind of exist in the void. This one existing on like a physical plane makes it look very nice. Oh no, Waddle Dees. They talked about options. You're gonna kind of like Smash Bros. You're gonna have the ability to like customize controls. And then you can set like names. So like you can put your name in there and that'll be your custom controls for your character. So like, if I put my name in there, I can set my specific controls. So that way, it's not customizing it for everybody. Yeah, of course. It works so well in Smash Bros. Now, the other thing they talked about in the options, accessibility. So Nintendo is, the family-friendly gaming company. They very much want to make games that anyone can pick up and play. But Nintendo also very much has the design philosophy that you play the game the way they intend, or you don't play the game at all. So when it comes to So when it comes to Nintendo and accessibility, they're actually pretty shite. Nintendo is actually very bad at accessibility. And they get trounced by PlayStation, by Xbox. God, even Ubisoft is better than Nintendo is. But Nintendo's actually putting in some accessibility into this game. I really hope this becomes the pattern for the future. You know, they talked about how there's going to be, you know, countermeasures for certain visual effects. You can put like bars on the screen to help, you know, balance things out, to help stabilize it for certain people. You can reduce screen shake. You can mess around with the camera controls. Like last year, or it might have even been earlier this year, there was this big thing about standardizing accessibility language. And all three of the major companies, Nintendo, Xbox, or Microsoft, and PlayStation, all signed off on it. But it's like Nintendo doesn't do any accessibility in their games. So that was kind of the hope that like, oh, well, maybe they're going to start changing. And for the first time, we see some actual change. So that is good. I'm really glad this exists. I'm sure it's not as extensive as it needs to be. I'm sure Laura K. Dale will do a fantastic video about the accessibility in this game, but this is better than the literal nothing Nintendo has given us for the entire Switch's lifespan. Because no, the assist mode in Mario Odyssey and the, you know, guide option in Metroid Dread barely count. Next up, we talked about Amiibo. So we already knew about the Kirby and the Warp Star and the Waddle Dee and the Wing Star. But we now have 3 new Amiibo. We have Meta Knight on the Shadow Star. Totally predicted that. King Dedede is not on the bike, the wheelie. He's instead on the Tink Star. And on top of that, the Tink Star, because it has 2 modes. It has like a star mode and a ground mode and a glide mode. You can literally remove the Tink treads from the Tink Star and switch it from ground mode to glide mode. That's really cool. And finally, you have Chef Kawasaki on the Hop Star. Are these going to be the only 5 Kirby Air Ride amiibos? Depending on how they sell, probably. So I'd say probably. But it's cool that they exist at all. It sucks that they're so expensive. Part of that is Nintendo's fault. Part of that is Donald Trump's fault. But I think they're neat. I do think they're neat. And I might get one. I might. Next up, oh yeah, and also the amiibos change so like on the default on the menu, it's like a Kirby icon that like goes between the things. But if you use the amiibo, you can change it to like Waddle Dee on the Wing Star. It's just cosmetic, but it's cute, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are like other ways to do it as well. Next up, they talked about the story mode. They showed the opening cutscene for the road trip mode, which is basically like one day all these machines rain from the sky, and people learn that if they powered the machines with like their willpower, you know, Green Lantern style, it eventually, you know, they can start using the machines. And basically all of Kirby society adapted to it. Everybody became obsessed with the machines. But they noticed that like all the machines were like pointing in the same direction. So now people are going on road trips to find out where the machines are pointing. And it's probably towards that like mysterious shadow figure. Like we see this like ancient wheelie that has been on the planet for like hundreds of years. And basically he explained that like the story mode's all about like helping riders and machines become one. And then we got a name for our mysterious shadowy figure. Their name is Zora. And they're a sort of inorganic life form that, yeah, they've been on this world for a long time, you know, and we see them like go through the ages. That's cool. And then we got the closing statements. They wanted to put everything into this. That Kirby Air Ride is not going to be a new franchise. It's not the new Smash Bros. This is kind of a one and done thing. So they wanted to put everything they possibly could in this to make it the best it possibly can be. There are no plans for DLC. You know, they've already put everything into the game. They don't need DLC. I would have happily paid for it. Again, Smash Bros. Is one of the few series that can get away with announcing day one DLC. So yeah, I would have happily paid, but you know, I'm happy with what we're getting here. Shit. This is, right, the ultimate Kirby Air Ride game. And then they showed off, you know, hints at other things. Specifically, at some point, you're potentially going to go to the Fountain of Dreams, which is cool, because I love the Fountain of Dreams, man. It's a great Smash Bros. Stage, and it sucks that it's banned and competitive. Because it's total, other than that, it's a totally legal stage, but I guess it, like, lags a little or something, so it's been banned. And then you're also gonna go to the Wishing Star, the Galactic Nova. At some point, you know, we see, it reminds me of Galactus. Like, this new render of the Galactic Nova, or the Galactic, you know, the Wishing Star Galactic Nova, reminds me a lot of the new redesign for Galactus in the new Fantastic Four movie. It honestly looks a lot like that, but I think it's cool. And it's a very eerie vibes. You know, Marx is gonna blow up in it again, I bet. But either way, that's really cool. And then the final thing is, hey, guess what? They're gonna do a demo. I predicted this one, actually. I last week, or when this Direct was announced, I was like, oh, we're gonna get a demo, aren't we? There's gonna be 2 days. The first one is November 8th and 9th. And then the second day is November 15th and 16th. So you just got to find out what time works for you locally. They gave all the times in Pacific Standard Time. You can, I don't have them written down, but I'm sure you can look them up. And yeah, they're going to do a demo. We don't know exactly what the demo is going to entail, but either way, that's cool. Exactly what I expected. So yeah, that's the Kirby Air Riders Direct. Again, if you're a Nintendo hater, you're going to fucking hate this thing, obviously, because you're a Nintendo hater. That's sadly the whole reason you exist. Is you have made that your sole life's purpose to hate Nintendo. Because, you know, if you like something too much, you're glazing it. Because we live in hell. And in hell, enjoyment is a sin. But for me, you know, as someone who loves hearing Sakurai talk about his games, this was great. I'm amazed he found... You know, after the last Direct, where, again, that was almost an hour, I was like, okay, he's talked about everything I need to know. The fact that he got another hour out of this is wild. But he did, and it was a great time. I had a great time with it. I can't rate it on like a traditional Direct sense, because this is not a traditional Direct by any means. But man, it just shows you that what I like about Smash Bros. What I like about the Smash Bros. Release cycle isn't Smash Bros. It's Sakurai. He makes the Smash Bros. Release cycle fun. And it's the same thing here. I'm already excited for Kirby Air Rider. I am a fan beforehand. But I just like hearing Sakurai talk about his games. That's kind of all I need. And hey, guess what? We did talk about that for an hour. We talked about that longer than Sakurai did. No surprise there. So I'm just going to move on to the next thing, because we still got tons of shit to do. Let's talk about new Switch stuff. So most of these aren't new games, but we got a few release dates and a few delays and whatnot. So I want to talk about all of them. The first one is one of the games that I was fully expecting to get a release date, like, God, back at the last Nintendo Direct, at the Indie World, at Opening Night Live. One of the games I've been waiting on a release date is Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Finally, this week, we got a release date. December 1st. Right, coming in at the 11th hour, we are getting Marvel Cosmic Invasion. It is coming out this year. They revealed 2 new characters, Jean Grey with the Phoenix Force, and then Iron Man. So someone did point out that this is the first Marvel game in almost 20 years to not have the Hulk in it, at least at launch, which is kind of crazy. Yes, we have She-Hulk, but you know what they mean. Either way, I'm very excited for this game. I never played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones the developers previously did, but I've heard nothing but great things. I've heard this game is really good. I'm not a beat-em-up fan. I've said this before. I'm not really a fan of beat-em-up games, but I have heard so many good things about, I think it's called Shredder's Revenge. And this, every problem people seem to have with Shredder's Revenge, this game seems to be fixing. So I'm excited. Oh god, is this the train? I hate the train. Yeah. Next up, we got Assassin's Creed Shadow, which I think AC Shadows had already been revealed to coming on Switch. But guess what? It comes out December 2nd. We got some new gameplay of the port. Honestly, it looks pretty decent. Kind of like the Star Wars Outlaw port, where it's like, yeah, it's not anything like revolutionary, but it looks decent. And yeah, it kind of feels like the same thing here. It's a decent looking port. Next up, System Shock. We're getting a System Shock, you know, the System Shock remaster was announced, what, years ago now? Finally, it's coming out. We don't exactly have a release date, but it has been confirmed to be coming to Switch in Switch 2. As well as getting, you know, all this information, they did also confirm that the Switch 2 version specifically, and by extension the Switch 1 version, will be fully available on the cartridge. That this game will not be a game key card, but will be fully on the cartridge. You know that has some people excited. Because, you know, we knew this was inevitable, that with enough backlash to game key cards, eventually developers were going to start being like, no, we're not putting our games on game key cards, just because we know they won't sell. And yeah, this really does feel like this is the first game we've seen that's like, nope, no game key cards here, just the full game, which I definitely think is the right move. Next up, a game that I've been predicting on Switch for years now. Probably since like 2018. Fallout 4. The OG Switch has always been capable of running Fallout 4 in my opinion. That was an early Xbox One game. Like 2014. The Switch could totally run Fallout 4. And I was always kind of surprised it in GTA 5, which is a 360 PS3 game. It always surprised me that those two games never got announced for Switch. But now here we are on Switch 2. They're releasing a anniversary edition of Fallout 4. Specifically, it comes out in like 2 weeks, November 10th. On PC, PlayStation, Xbox. You know, it's got all the DLCs. It's got a bunch of character, you know, creation engine stuff. Or creator workshop. I don't remember what it's called. It's coming with all that. And then next year, in 2026... it'll be coming to Switch 2. Yeah, you know, Fallout 4 is not a perfect game by any means. But I do have fun with Fallout 4. And hey, it's cool it's coming to Switch. Again, we'll talk about the Halo thing next. That's our next story. The console wars are over. The console wars ended. And then finally, they came out and talked about Elden Ring. Elden Ring has been delayed. At last we heard about this port is that it wasn't running very well. So the idea that Elden Ring has been delayed does at all not surprise me. Like, this is one of those things that definitely needed to be delayed. So I'm in no way surprised by any of that. Yeah. And yeah. I'm sure there were some other... It really felt like we were going to get a Nintendo Direct this week. And it just, or like even like a mini direct, and it just didn't happen because there were so many announcements. We got a new trailer for Hyrule Warriors, which literally comes out in like 2 weeks. I kind of completely forgot that game comes out in 2 weeks, but it does, and I will probably play it, maybe? I don't know, there are too many good games right now. That's the thing, there are too many good games. But yeah, we got a new trailer for that. As well... Ball X Pit, the newest Devolver Digital game, also announced that the game is available right now. If you want to play it on Switch or Switch 2, you can. But the Switch 2 upgrade that they had previously said was just coming out sometime this year got an October 28th release date. So if you want to play Ball X Pit on Switch 2, the free upgrade comes out next week. Literally in like 3 days. Which, from what I've heard, Ball X Pit's a pretty good game, so I definitely recommend it. And yeah, that's all, just a bunch of little Switch announcements. It's all very exciting. And our final announcement comes from Xbox. So Xbox earlier today, just randomly out of the blue, announced, hey, they're remaking the original Halo. Halo Combat Evolved from the original Xbox is getting a full remaster. I can't remember the specific terms they use. In my notes, I have it labeled as a faithful modernization. But it's the original Halo game remade in HD on, new systems. And I think this is great. This is definitely one of those games that, kind of like Ocarina of Time, that deserves to be remade. And yeah, you know what? Admittedly, I put more time into Halo 2 than I did the OG Halo, but I'm down to give the OG Halo another shot. Fully remastered? That sounds great. So it's the full game, it's full Halo Combat Evolved, but there are 3 new prequel missions featuring Master Chief and Sergeant Johnson. Admittedly, I don't remember who Sergeant Johnson is off the top of my head. It's been a long time since I played a Halo game. But, okay, some new content's always good in a remaster. They're adding new, they're broadening the selection of weapons, vehicles, and enemies. So what that makes me guess is that they're going to be taking some stuff from like Halo 2 and 3 and putting it in the OG game just to make things more interesting. That's good. I'm down for that. Specifically the weapons. Adding some more weapons is always nice. Of course, and the game, obviously all the gameplay improvements. They're going to be adding the skull system. So in later Halo games, because I don't think it was in the original. I don't even remember if it was in 2 or not. I'm a little rusty. I don't remember when the skull system was added. But the Halo added the modifier skulls, where you could turn on these modifier skulls that change how the game is played. In theory, it's supposed to make things more fun. Usually, it just makes things more challenging. And, there's a whole... I want to say there's an achievement in some of the games to beat it with all the skulls turned on. And it's a fucking nightmare. Specifically, I remember Achievement Hunter playing it with all scrolls. Like, that's... Yeah, I remember all skulls being like a big deal. Okay, so they were in Halo 2. They just weren't in the original. But yeah, they're now in the original. I don't know. It's something I've never messed around with, but I just remember Achievement Hunter doing it and it just being a whole thing. Ah, fuck. Okay, there we go. I don't know why it keeps doing that. For Halo Campaign Evolved, there will be 2-player split-screen co-op, only on the console versions. So if you're playing on PC, I guess it won't have it for some reason, but console will. And then there is also online co-op. So there is 4-player online co-op, which I'm assuming, it's just the stuff from the standard game. I admittedly don't remember if Halo had a split screen, because I know some of the later games have a multiplayer campaign. I don't think Halo the OG does, but I could be wrong about that. Either way, split screen, I remember playing Halo 2 split screen back in the day. And then so, we don't have a release date, we just have a release year, 2026. But we did get some information. Specifically, it's coming to Xbox consoles, S and X, PC, Steam, and then the big one, PS5. I've seen a lot, since this has been announced, I've seen a lot of people saying, this is it, the console wars are officially over. Yeah, and I kind of do agree. That, the old school console wars, when we think of console wars, I think of, Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis. But, you know, Xbox and PlayStation have been running the console wars for many years. And this does really feel like, yeah, that, you know, Microsoft's mascot being on PlayStation, that's the end of the console wars. Admittedly, console wars are very much things that fanboys care about. Microsoft themselves have admitted the console wars have been over for years. Like, they buddied up with Nintendo years ago. So I don't think this is actually as big of a deal as some people are making it out to be. But yeah, the console wars are over. But yeah, either way, I think this is great. I was listening to Kinda Funny talk about this. They've already played it. It seems cool. So with that, let's just get into WIBE. You know, I'm kind of gonna go fast here. We've got a food thing, a Pokemon thing, which I'm honestly not going to talk too much about the Pokemon thing. And then we've got Batman v Superman, which is the big thing I'm going to talk about. If I don't talk about the book thing, it's not too big of a deal. Because my goal is just to beat this world. After this world, we're done. I'm tired. I gotta go to bed at some point. Alright, let's talk about the food thing. So Sonic Burger, they've got this big new November menu, but if you use their app, you can get it all now. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it out. So they've got, technically not, they're not new slushes, but I don't always remember them having a green apple, admittedly, but they brought back the raspberry bursting bubbles, so you can get a cherry slush or a green apple slush with the raspberry bursting bubbles. I tried both of them. Honestly, they're fine. I like cherry more, but, you know, I'm a cherry guy. I've said that before. I think the cherry one was fine. The green apple one was also decent. My big thing with Sonic slushes, even more than ice cream, I get such bad brain freeze from a Sonic slush. They're good, but the brain freeze sucks. So there was also a coffee thing as well for drinks. I didn't try that. You don't need my thoughts on coffee. There's a reason I've never talked about Dutch Bros on this show. Because, like, that's the one coffee place I do try. Because they also do novelty. More than just Starbucks that just does, like, Christmas and pumpkin spice and bullshit. But yeah. The other big thing from Sonic is they have a pretzel bacon Sonic's double smasher double. It's a pretzel bacon burger. Now, I've gone on the record and said that, well, I like Sonic's drinks. I don't like Sonic Burger's burgers. I don't like most of their food, actually. But I tried this burger, and I was like, yeah, it's a pretzel burger, sure, why not? It was greasy, it was messy, you know, the cheese was very gooey, but I actually kind of liked it. It didn't, I don't know what burger it tasted like, but it didn't taste too much like a Sonic burger to me. Because the Sonic Smasher is okay. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But it still very much tastes like a Sonic burger. This did, at least the one I had, didn't exactly taste like a Sonic burger. Maybe it was, you know, how much they melted the cheese. Maybe it was the bacon. I don't entirely know. But by Sonic burger standards, I'd give it a solid B. Which, compared to some of their other shit, that's fucking good. Because most Sonic burger stuff, oh, it's so much lower than that. Because I love their drinks, but I don't like their food. And yeah, so this is good. If you're at all, you know, if you're not a Sonic food hater like me, and you think they're fine, this might be really good for you. I thought this was fine. I know pretzel buns are very much a gimmick, but I think it worked fine here. I think the burger had Dijon mustard on it, which admittedly I don't really put Dijon mustard on anything, but I think it worked fine on the burger. Like, I don't like, it was definitely like the first time because it was on the like third bite, and that was kind of weird, but overall I think it works out fine. So yeah, Sonic burger. Next up, let's talk about Pokemon real quick. So in Pokemon, my big thing was that I didn't want to end up with a team of all Megas. Because that's kind of how I played X and Y. and more specifically Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, is it was like, oops, everyone in my party can Mega Evolve. I kind of wanted to avoid that in this game. Spoiler alert, I ended up with an oops all Mega Evolution team. I had Donut the cat, who was, you know, a Meowstic, replaced it with a Malamar. I had Chase the Sableye, replaced it with Chandelure. I had other things, replaced it with other Pokemon that can Mega Evolve. My sixth member became Scolipede. Yeah, that's cool. Where am I at the story? I think I'm like C rank. I don't know if her name is Canary or Canary, or some other weird third pronunciation. At one point, I want to say Lita calls her Canary, and Naveen is like, that's not how it's pronounced. God, these games desperately need voice acting. So I'm going to assume it's Canary and not Canary. Canary is a VTuber. Like, I kind of made the joke that she's the VTuber, and then shock and behold, she actually was kind of like a Hatsune Miku VTuber. She is also a real person, but she's also a VTuber. Kind of. It's complicated. I totally predicted the grandfather thing. Like, the moment they mentioned it, I was like, yep, that's who that is. I totally got that right. So I met Canary. I met Corbo, who also, from the moment that character was revealed, they're like a mafia boss kind of guy. And I was like, okay, they're not evil. Because Pokemon, kind of like Disney, really loves its twist villains. And I'm like, this Corbo guy looks too evil. He's not going to be the real villain. To be fair, I haven't beaten the game, so I haven't got to the point where the Cortico lady, or Quasartico, is revealed to be the villain, but I fully expect that to happen. At some point, I know that's going to happen. But I met Corbo. I like Corbo. Sure, is he still kind of a, you know, he puts, you start working for the mob at a certain point in this game. Not like those, you know, those fan Pokemon games where it's like, Pokemon, but you're Team Rocket and you get to murder people. No, this is more lighthearted than that. But yeah, you end up, because he gets you like $1 million in debt. So I worked for him. That went fine. Again, he's a likable enough guy. As it turns out, all his odd jobs were like, hey, clear out these Pokemon from this house so that way we can give up affordable housing. Clear out the crystals from the sewer so that way Pokemon can live there. Hey, go beat up these 2 people harassing these children. It's all shit like that. And then, so I did that. And then the last thing I did was I met Giacinth, who is a fan. All the designs in this game are goated. Pokemon still has, for all the problems with their games, has some of the best character designs. Corbo, Canary, Giacinth, all fantastic. But Giacinth, she's, you know, snooty rich girl who she's gonna be a bitch. She's gonna be an asshole. Her maid keeps like warning us, like, you don't want to piss her off or else, you know, she's gonna destroy you. But that's kind of where I'm at. I'm right around there. I just met her. We ditched her meeting. And that was where I turned it off yesterday. Because I didn't play it all today. Again, Batman v Superman's like a 3-hour movie. So speaking of which, I guess let's just get into that. Batman v Superman, when I first saw this movie, it was 2016. I saw it in theaters. I think I went with my brother and some of his friends because they also wanted to go see it. And I liked it. I didn't think it was anything amazing, but I wasn't a huge Superman fan at the time. I didn't have super high expectations for it. You know, I wanted to see Batman punch Superman. It did that. Admittedly, the more I thought about it, like, over, like, the next, like, 12 hours, the worse it got. But I was like, yeah, that was fine. And then a little while later, the Ultimate Edition came out. And I watched the Ultimate Edition and was like, oh, wait, this is actually kind of garbage. I did not like my second viewing of Batman v Superman. And then, like a year passes. And over that year, I'm like, maybe I was too harsh on Batman v Superman. When I think about certain things, when I think about these moments, this movie's actually not that bad. Maybe this is a good movie. Turns out I was completely wrong. Nope, the movie was still garbage. And then about a year passes, and I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe I was too harsh on that movie. Like, I know last time I didn't really like it, but thinking about it, all this stuff seems good. There's some good cinematography. I think Ben Affleck is a fine Batman, even if he murders. There are some things that work. Let's give it another go. I fucking hated it. And it was, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you. And I was like, never again. And then this year, I decided to watch all the Superman movies. This is the last Superman movie that we needed to watch. I know some people will say, well, this isn't a Superman movie. I admittedly don't know if people think it's a Batman movie either, because Batman's first in the title. But I consider this a Superman movie. It's kind of like, how people say, like, oh, Captain America Civil War isn't a Captain America movie. It's an Avengers movie. It's not. Captain America Civil War is a Captain America movie. I kind of feel the same way about this. Like, yeah, some people will say, well, this is just Justice League 0.5. No, this is a Superman movie. Because I guess Zack Snyder at some point wanted to do Man of Steel 2. I, for all intents and purposes, consider this Man of Steel 2. Now, because I can see the arguments against that, like, oh, well, the movie opens with Batman. Batman gets one of the final lines in the movie. It's a Batman movie. I guess I could see that argument, but I feel like the core conflict, all the major points in this movie, revolve around Superman. Superman is the protagonist. I consider this a Superman movie. So what are my thoughts on it? Now seeing, after saying I was never going to see it again, it's now like 6-7 years later. I'm giving it another shot. What are my thoughts? It's not good, but it's also not as bad as the last time I saw it. I think the difference is now, and I kind of mentioned this last week with Man of Steel, is that now that we have a good Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, now that we have a good Superman movie with David Cornsweet, I wanted to look back at Man of Steel and be like, this is an Elseworld story. This is doing something different, but it's okay because we have good movies now. And I just couldn't for Man of Steel. I really struggled with Man of Steel. Batman v Superman, on the same principle. This is an Elseworld story. It's a world where Batman kills. It's a world where Superman can't save everybody. Admittedly, I think those are two very important aspects of the character, and this movie not having them is like, why even make it Batman and Superman at that point? But thinking of it as an Elseworlds tale, I think this is a perfectly fine movie. Nothing great, nothing terrible. I think it is perfectly fine. I have so many thoughts. I don't know. Hopefully we'll get to... We're going to beat this world so quick. Oh my gosh. Because I think the next level's the boss. So, the movie starts off with the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Now, I know some people didn't like this scene because, oh, this is like our 4th time seeing Thomas and Martha die. But the actual, like, shooting of the film, like the actual, like, hey, this is going to show us the scene. The pearls get stuck in the gun. They go scattering. We see Bruce at the funeral. He falls into the cave with bats. Of every version of this scene we have seen, this is the best one. The opening of this movie is perfect. The death of the Waynes is exactly how I want it to look. It's pulled right out of the comics. It is a perfect opening scene. And from there, you get the Metropolis scene, where it's Bruce running around Metropolis, trying to save, as many people as he can. Because of Superman and Zod, they're going through 9/11. And it's shot like 9/11. Like, if you've ever watched the documentary 102 Minutes That Changed America, look it up, by the way. You can find it on YouTube. It's shot like that. It's shot like 9/11. And it's so good. Everything in that opening scene is so good. And it sets up the movie of, like, from this moment that, Bruce lived through, he now hates Superman and sees him as this god who can destroy the world. Like, it sets up the conflict for the rest of the movie so well, in my opinion. I think this movie starts off so strong. Because that's another thing. One of the praises I gave Man of Steel was that the cinematography was fantastic. That's only gotten better in this movie. I think the cinematography is even better in Batman v Superman. The score is fantastic. Yes, would I have loved some classic Superman and Batman theme? Of course I would have. But the Wonder Woman theme is great. I like the Lex Luthor theme. I know it's just violins, and it kind of reminds me of, like, the Homelander theme that we got years later. Still think it's good. Yeah, no, the lighting is good for the most part. I think when it comes to, the technical aspects, the CGI, with the exception of really Doomsday, I think the CGI is pretty decent. Zack Snyder knows what he's doing on the technical aspects. It's just everything else that kind of sucks. The writing is admittedly a little better from Man of Steel. The plot, I think, is a little better from Man of Steel. But it's just got issues. But overall, I think the casting of Ben Affleck as Batman, I know that was kind of controversial at the time. I honestly think he's a fine Batman. They're doing The Dark Knight Returns. This is an older, grizzled Batman. He's been through some shit. You see Robin's costume after he was killed by the Joker. I know it in the comics it's Jason Todd, but I guess at some point Zack Snyder said that it's Dick Grayson in his universe. That's fucking stupid. But hey, this is one of the three movies to mention Robin. So I guess you kind of get points on that front. I don't know. I think Ben Affleck's a fine casting for Batman. I think he does a good job. Jeremy Irons as Alfred, fantastic. There has not been a bad Alfred casting. Admittedly, I'm not thinking of some of the older ones, but of the modern ones, of the three modern Batmans, all the Alfred castings are good. So yeah, all the stuff with Batman, with Batman at the beginning. All the stuff with Batman at the beginning is good. Then you get the Superman stuff. Holy shit. What the fuck was he thinking with Jimmy Olsen? That's, like, I remember at the time Zack Snyder being like, oh, we did it for the fans. We put Jimmy Olsen in here. And then he's like a CIA agent who gets killed in his first scene. Like, that's not Jimmy Olsen. Zack Snyder, you fuck. You have no idea what you're doing. Was the beginning of this movie directed by a different person? Or does Zack Snyder only barely know how to do Batman and has no idea what the fuck he's doing with Superman? But yeah, this whole opening, the Jimmy Olsen stuff is dumb. The rest of it is all clearly set up by Lex. We'll talk about Lex. I'll bring up bits and pieces, but I'll save all that for later. But this is all part of Lex's plan just to see, like, hey, if you put Lois Lane in trouble, will Superman show up? The answer is yes, obviously.
We did it. We got the magic yarn.
So, after that, you get the bathtub scene with Lois and Clark. I still think Henry Cavill is a fine casting. I'll be honest, there were a few scenes in this movie. I don't know if it was just the way he was shot, the lighting, the makeup. Sometimes Cavill looked like Christopher Reeves. Sometimes I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's Christopher Reeves standing there. Not like the CGI bullshit they did in like The Flash, but like it's got some of that look to it. And I'm like, yeah, Cavill is a great casting for this role. Lois, Amy Adams, I think is a fine casting. They still don't have good chemistry. Like, this whole bathtub thing is supposed to be like, oh, it's this cute scene where Clark shows how much he loves Lois by getting in the bathtub fully clothed. But it just doesn't work. Like, it's two pieces of cardboard talking to each other. Admittedly, we'll get to the ending. I think it ends better with them, but they still don't have that good of chemistry. And also, speaking of Lois Lane does nothing in this movie. Like, there's this whole subplot where she's trying to find this bullet. There's this bullet, and she knows it's special, but she can't figure out why. And she goes on this whole crusade. She goes to DC. She talks to the people at the Pentagon. She talks to, the Secretary of Defense or something like that. And she has no idea what this bullet is. And the eventual reveal is that it's Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor has been playing them from the start. But none of the Lois scenes were needed. Honestly, you could remove Lois from everything but the Martha scene. And this movie would be better for it. Alright, give me a minute. Let me hit that. Alright, so real quick, I unhooked the Wii and I hooked it back up to see if that will solve the connection issue. I don't know if it will. We'll see. So yeah, all the Lois stuff is completely unneeded. I know they want her to be important. I guess Zack Snyder had these big plans. I guess her and Bruce were supposed to have a kid or some bullshit. I don't know. I don't care. It was never going to happen, and if it did, it was going to be dumb. From what I once heard, it sounds even worse than I imagined it. But they try to make her a big deal in this movie. Let's see. We get the Lex Luthor thing. Again, I'll talk about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor later. Awful adaptation from the comics. We get this weird scene with him in the Jolly Rancher where he feeds the senator Jolly Ranchers. And it's just kind of creepy, but it's supposed to be. And I think when it comes to being Lex Luthor, he does an awful job. When it comes to being a creepy weirdo, I think he kind of nails it. But, people don't want Lex Luthor to be a creepy weirdo. We'll talk about it. Because it's very clearly established that the entire time he knows Superman is Clark Kent. I mean, Lois figured it out in the first movie before even meeting Clark. Obviously, Lex Luthor could figure it out. And same thing with Batman. It's also very clearly established he knows Bruce Wayne is Batman. He even mentions at a later point that he spent 2 years trying to pin Batman and Superman against each other. At least, not 2 years, probably 18 months, but still. He's been working hard to try to get these two to hate each other. And that clearly, is all paying off here. Which, to that end, we get the whole party scene where it's hey, Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne. I like introducing people to people. Like, it's clearly all part of his plan. You know, he sends Superman these photos of the people Batman's marking. He sends Batman the, return checks from this guy to, make him hate, to get him to hate. He plants all the bomb stuff. Like, he's clearly trying to pin them against each other. And then he has to put his thumb on it the farther he goes, or at least more so. Yeah, I don't mind him knowing their secret identities. I don't think it adds or takes away from much. It's Lex Luthor. What was I gonna say? There's a lot of I did watch the Ultimate Edition. I don't know entirely what the changes are. I know there's like a lot of stuff with like, hey, Lex Luthor was paying off this woman to lie about Superman killing her parents. There's this entire subplot about, like, Superman looking into Batman that I don't think was in the original. I guess let's talk about the branding thing. So, again, I mentioned earlier, this is a Batman that kills. Because, he's been doing this for 20 years. He's seen his fair share of shit. And he just doesn't care anymore. And so it's early on in the movie, when we actually first see Batman as Batman, I actually think that's a great scene. Where he's like on the walls and he's like moving around as the cops like shooting at him with a shotgun. I think that's all great. Again, the lighting, the cinematography, it's all fantastic. But the scene where you find out that, hey, Batman, he brands people. And then when they go to prison, they die. That anyone who shows up with a Batman brand is killed. And while sure, he's not directly killing them, he knows they will be killed. They constantly call him judge, jury, and executioner. And yes, that's not Batman. A Batman who does that is the villain. But as an Elseworld story, if that's what Zack Snyder's trying to do, he's really trying to do The Dark Knight Returns. To that end, I think, it's not Batman. But for Zack Snyder's Elseworld story, sure. I don't like it, but it's what he's doing. You get the whole Flash sequence. So, when people complain about Age of Ultron, one of the complaints I see is that movie spends too much time setting up other movies. And that's just not true. It's a little true. The two things they set up in Age of Ultron are Wakanda and when Thor goes to that vision pool and has a vision about the Infinity Stones and the Vision, the vision pool is where he gets the name The Vision from. In this movie, the whole fast forward sequence with the Flash, where he he sees into this apocalypse future Earth, where because Lois Lane died, Superman became evil, and now he's killing people and he's gonna kill Bruce. That is the vision pool from Age of Ultron, but 1,000 times worse. Same thing with there's a whole scene where Wonder Woman watches these clips of like Cyborg, The Flash, Aquaman. What bullshit. Like they're, like people make fun of like the Dark Pictures anthology, where it was like, oh, we're gonna set up a whole cinematic universe in a single movie with the Mummy, with Tom Cruise as the Mummy, and it just immediately failed. This is worse than that. I honestly think this entire Flash scene, trying to set up the entire DC universe in a single movie, is bullshit. I think this scene is, I would want this entire thing cut from the movie. I honestly think that would everything to do with, Cyborg, The Flash, Aquaman, and all the future stuff. You cut that out of the movie, my score improves by at least a point. I think all of that was unnecessary. Cause that's it's so messy. Cause, people complain about modern Marvel. That, modern Marvel doesn't have a plan. Or I guess Star Wars as well. That, Star Wars didn't have a plan. Zack Snyder clearly went in with a plan. And I think it actively hurts this movie. I think this movie is actively worse because he is thinking 4 movies ahead. Of course, you know, maybe if those 4 movies had ever come out, things would be different. But just getting Justice League and, you know, I guess The Flash and Aquaman, like, it still doesn't help. It's what we got still doesn't help things. And God, don't even get the future scene in Justice League is probably even worse. And I don't think I'm going to rewatch Justice League because, again, my goal was just to watch the Superman movies, and the Batmans kind of just fell into my lap along the way. I don't plan on rewatching Justice League, especially because that's 4 hours. But I didn't hate Zack Snyder's Justice League. I did not. Do I think the cinematic universe needs to be continued? No. God, no. I am not. If it isn't obvious from everything I've said for the, you know, this movie and Man of Steel, I am not a Snyder bro. I am very much not. Even though I will say something earlier that probably does align with Snyder bros, but we'll get to that. My one controversial take, as I'll say. After that, you get all the courthouse stuff, the bomb at the courthouse. I remember people hating this scene. I actually think it's fine, because the whole point of it is Lex Luthor sets this all up. You know, the guy doesn't know he's gonna die, as it's revealed later. You know, the bomb's in the chair, it's in a lead box, so Superman doesn't know it's there. And it's all set up in a way to make Superman lose his faith in humanity. That, you know, he wants to be Earth's savior. And you get a actually decent montage of him, like, saving people. But, you know, he's trying to be Earth's savior. His mom even tells him at one point, like, oh, you know, they don't deserve you. You know, they don't need you. Which I know after the whole Jonathan Kent thing in the last movie, you'd probably think I'd hate. I actually thought it was fine. We'll get to the Jonathan Kent thing in this one in a minute. But I think the bomb at the courthouse, you know, he failed. He failed to save all those people. It was right under his nose. People immediately start blaming him for it because, you know, he's Superman. He's supposed to be able to stop that. Again, Superman saves everybody. And so giving us a scene where, no, he's not able to save everyone and he fails, it breaks him. Because I know people were mad that immediately after the bomb blows up, he just, like, flies away. I don't know, maybe in the original, because in the original, I remember he, like slow-mos the bomb exploding for a second, and then he, like, flies away, but in the Ultimate Edition, he doesn't slow-mo it, and he actually goes back in to save some people, but eventually he realizes, like, oh, he's a failure. He kind of loses his connection with humanity, because he feels like he's failed them. Lois Lane is there and he feels like he's failed her. Doesn't know if he goes to her afterwards and is like, I don't know if our relationship's gonna work. Cause, I just did all this horrible stuff. Like, he should have been able to stop it. And the fact that he didn't, that's what pushes Bruce over the edge to try to, steal the kryptonite. I actually think the courthouse scene is fine. Yes, Superman should be able to save everybody. But very clearly they were trying to do something where it's like, no, he doesn't save everybody, and it very much traumatizes him. Sure, is it kind of fucked up that it traumatizes him more than his father's own death and him killing Zod, the last Kryptonian other than himself? Yes, that is kind of fucked up. But whatever. I expect these movies to be bad. So, no, it's more than what I expected it to be. I guess I'll put it like that. The whole scene with Batman. Okay, so I know someone, I want to say Folding Ideas, did a video of how many people Batman kills. I want to say it's in like the 20s or 30s. I did a personal count where I was like, unless they get shot by a gun, blown up, or I see blood, only then will I count them as dead. I got 16, which is, again, pretty liberal by all things. Or I guess it'd be conservative. Whatever, you get my point. It can definitely be a lot higher than that. But I actually, again, as an Elseworlds Batman story, the whole car chase scene where Batman's trying to get the kryptonite and then eventually Superman comes in to stop him, I do really like that scene. It's shot very well. It looks nice. Again, the CGI is fine. Really, the only problem is that he's killing people. Like, there's no way... Like, he literally blows up a car and, like, barrels through it. There's no way those people aren't dead. He's definitely killing people. But it's a good... Again, if you think of it as an Elseworld story, I think it's a decent scene. And then Superman coming in at the end and being like, the next time the signals turns on, don't come. The Batman is dead. That's good. I like the "Do you bleed" line. I know some of these lines get memed. I like the "Do you bleed" later on when Batman says, like, you're not brave, men are brave. I like that line. I like the "you're not a god, you're not even a man." That's a good line. I don't mind some of the Lex Luthor stuff. Like, yeah, it's on the nose, but I don't mind it at all. Fuck it, let's talk about Lex Luthor. My most controversial take on this movie, because basically everything I've said up to this point has already been said by somebody at some point. And technically what I'm about to say has probably been said by some Schneider bro, but my one Schneider bro opinion, I like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Because, you know, usually Lex Luthor is, you know, he's a big, strong man. You know, All-Star Superman looks at him and is like, what if he is, you know, the closest a man can be to being like Superman? Like, he's physically fit. You know, he matches Superman on brains versus bronze. He's charismatic. He's likable. You know, that's Lex Luthor. I think of... Is it Clancy Brown? I think it's Clancy Brown. Nicholas Holt's a lot closer to what I think of when I think of Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg is not at all what I think about when I think of Lex Luthor. But if Lex Luthor was real, he would not be like Clancy Brown. He would not be like Nicholas Holt. He wouldn't even be like Kevin Spacey. And that guy's a fucking pedophile. Allegedly. No. In real life, Lex Luthor is Mark Zuckerberg. Lex Luthor is Elon Musk. Lex Luthor is Peter Thiel. That's what, you know, I've always, you know, it's Jesse Eisenberg. He played Mark Zuckerberg. That's the easy comparison. That's not what this reminded me of. It reminded me of Peter Thiel. That's who I'd compare this to. You know, Peter Thiel knows about the Antichrist. Lex Luthor in this movie spends a lot of time talking about the devil and God. Yeah, he's Peter Thiel in this movie. And to that end, I think Jesse Eisenberg does a fantastic job. As you know, this autistic man-child who thinks they're suave, thinks they're charismatic, but is just a weird fucking loser. Jesse Eisenberg does a fantastic job at portraying that. I know that's not comic accurate. Not at all. That's not what people want for Lex Luthor. But as the idea of like, hey, let's do a realistic Lex Luthor, making him this weird fucking loser, I think he nails it. I really like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I think he does a great job in this movie. He's weird. He's antisocial. You know, the only difference between Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor and Elon Musk is that when push came to shove, Jesse Eisenberg didn't call his mom to get him out of fighting. Because that's what Elon Musk did. He got his mom involved to get him out of a fight with Mark Zuckerberg. Like, God, Elon Musk is... Because that's the thing. Elon Musk thinks he's Lex Luthor. I remember, you know, back before the whole child submarine pedophile incident, that official... You know, Elon Musk was always a bad guy. But he was pretty good at hiding it until the child sub pedophile incident. That's the moment he went from being Elon Musk The kind of weird, but hey, you know, he's working on cars. That's kind of cool, I guess. Solar City, rockets to Mars. You know, he was a little weird, but, you know, he was doing some cool stuff. That was the moment, the child submarine pedophile moment, was the moment Elon Musk became the villain. He went from Iron Man to Lex Luthor. And as Lex Luthor, he's a fucking loser. And Jesse Eisenberg nails that. So I like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Sure, are his motivations very clearly laid out? You know, as a kid, his father beat him, he blames God for never stepping in to save him, and he projects all that onto Superman, who he considers a god. And so now he's gonna kill him. Or he's gonna get Batman to kill him. And, well, originally, his plan is to use the kryptonite to kill him. And then Batman steals it, so now he's going to get Batman to kill him. And then when that doesn't work, he's going to get Doomsday to do it. Because, you know, if man won't kill God, the devil will do it. Which I think is a fine line, honestly. Admittedly, I do think, because it's from very early on, they're establishing Lex Luthor wants Batman and Superman to fight. And then when Batman steals the kryptonite, I can't tell if he's mad or not. I think you could read the scene either way. That he's pissed that he doesn't get to do it himself, but maybe he's also happy that he gets to do it himself. Or that, you know, Batman's falling right into his trap. Because he plans everything out. Literally everything from moment one. You know, after the first, 2 scenes. Everything is planned out. It doesn't go according to his plan, potentially. He has to pivot a little bit. Again, the whole bringing Zod back to life was potentially part of his plan, but not always. I think Lex Luthor is perfectly fine. Again, it's an Elseworld story, where Batman kills and Superman doesn't save everybody. And to that end, their Elseworld's Lex Luthor, not what I think of with Lex Luthor, but I think they do a fine job. For what Zack Snyder was going for, I think he fucking nailed it. Do I ever want to see the character again? God, no. We're so lucky we have Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult is what I want Lex Luthor to be. But Jesse Eisenberg is what, you know, it could be. So yeah, that is the most controversial thing I'm going to say. By far, that is my big controversial take. I'm not going to say I always felt this way. That probably came from the first rewatch. Because I don't remember. When did the whole Elon Musk child submarine thing happen? What year was that? That was 2018. So that might have been the second or third rewatch, but still. But yeah, it's definitely Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel. That's definitely what they're going for. I forgot to put South Park in the notes. I guess it doesn't matter. So then after that, another part of his plan fails is that, you know, he's trying to put Batman and Superman, make them fight each other. But at a certain point, he realizes that's not going to be enough. So he kidnaps Martha. He also kidnaps Lois, because again, he realizes that, hey, the easiest way to find Superman is to go to Lois. He pushes her off the building. She had to fall off the building at some point in one of these movies. So then, you know, he gives this whole thing to Superman, hey, you have an hour. Go kill Batman and bring me his head. Because, you know, no matter what, he wins. If Batman kills Superman, that's exactly what he wants. If Superman kills Batman, well, guess what? He's got Doomsday to do it. And, you know, no matter what, he was going to kill Martha. Probably. So then that gives us the Batman v Superman fight. And it's fantastic. It's, again, they're doing the Dark Knight Returns. You know, this is the first time we've ever seen Superman weak. I like again, men are, you know, you're not brave, men are brave. That's great. The entire fight, you know, hitting him with the kitchen sink, as I think the brain dump video went. The whole throwing him through the pillars, knocking him off. It's just a great fight scene. completely removed from the context of the movie, I think it's all really good. I do like it all. And then that gets us to the ending of the fight scene. Save Martha. Since the moment this movie has come out, this scene has been clowned on. Oh, well, we both have moms with the same name. I guess we're now best friends. I have never hated this scene. I have always thought the Save Martha scene was fine. I talk about how, the more I think about this movie, every once in a while I trick myself into liking it. This is one of those scenes. Because when you really think about it, the whole thing is Batman, after the whole Senate building blew up and everything, he sees Superman as this god, this monster that has to be killed. And he's gone into basically like a kill-murder rage. And so when Superman Clark says, "Save Martha," that's his final words. It kind of snaps Batman out of his kill-murder rage. And he sees Clark as not a god, but a man again. And it kind of reminds me of, since this movie came out, we had Spider-Man No Way Home. And in that, you get a moment where Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man gets a chance at redemption. Because he failed to save Gwen. And in that movie, he gets a chance to save MJ. This is kind of doing the same thing. Because it's well established that Batman blames himself for his parents' death. That if he had just been a little stronger, he would have been able to save his parents. It's not true, but it's how he thinks about it. This scene is doing the same thing. Bruce sees this other woman named Martha, and this is his chance at redemption. He couldn't save his own mother named Martha. His father's final word was thinking about his wife, and now he's got a chance to save Clark's mom. It parallels. And yeah, this is his chance at redemption. His chance at, potentially healing. I think it's well done. I will defend the Martha scene. I don't think that's as controversial an opinion as it used to be. It might be, but I don't think it is. But yeah, no, I have no problem with the Martha scene. And a lot of what I just said right there was from Overly Sarcastic Productions. They did an entire deep dive into the Martha thing. And yeah, I think they nailed it. So go check that out. I could not for the life of me tell you what video that's from. But yeah, I think the Save Martha scene is fine. And I think it gets too much of a bad rap. After that, you get the whole Doomsday thing. I kind of wish Doomsday looked more like the comics. Like, I say for the most part, the CGI is fine. But Doomsday just being a gray blob man, if he had actually looked like the comics, it would have been better. I know he gets more spiky as the fight goes on, but actually having like a spiky Doomsday from the start would have been better. I've seen some people complain, well, how does, Zod's body and Lex Luthor's blood make Doomsday? And yeah, to be fair, I don't think they explain the blood thing very well, but it's the whole, there's this forbidden program on the Genesis ship to create abominations, and that's what he's using. I want to say Doomsday in the comics is like rebirth and death like 1,000 times over or something like that. Like it's born and it's killed over and over to get and each time it gets a little bit stronger until it becomes like this monster. That sounds right in my head. I don't know. Have I even read Death of Superman? I honestly couldn't tell you. But yeah, Doomsday is just kind of dumb, but hey, it's the big bad that all of our heroes get to come together to fight. I haven't talked about Gal Gadot once. Gal Gadot, okay, I'm not going to talk about all the IDF, Israel stuff, Free Palestine, all that. But what I will say is Gal Gadot is not a good actress. But she's only done like 3 decent performances in her life, and I think this is one of them. Her little interactions with Bruce are good, and then when she comes out, and Doomsday punches her... Fuck. Come on. I don't know why that issue keeps happening. When Doomsday punches her and she has like this smile on her face, like she's having fun, I think that's all good. I enjoyed that. And so, yeah, I had a good time with that. I think she does fine in this movie. Fuck her in general, but she does good in this, and I think she does good in Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is maybe the only good performance she's ever given. And then in Justice League, she's awful. And so the movie ends with the death of Superman. The whole Lois Lane stuff, she throws the spear in the water. It's all dumb. It was entirely unneeded. But it gets her there. That final moment of Superman, you know, he's got the spear and he tells Lois, I love you, is the one moment they have chemistry. It's the one moment I bought it. He goes in, he uses the spear to kill Doomsday. He gets nuked at some point. I think the Doomsday fight is fine. It's not good, it's not terrible, it's a perfectly fine scene. And yeah, the nuke stuff, it's whatever. But I like you know, he stabs Doomsday, Doomsday stabs him, they kill each other. Yeah, I know there are 1,000 ways to get out of this. Kind of like the Zod thing last week. There are 1,000 ways to get out of this. But they wanted to do the death of Superman. And do I think we needed the death of Superman as the second Superman movie in this universe? Fuck no. But as an adaptation of the death of Superman, I actually feel like they do a fine job. I remember Angry Joe once complaining that like, oh, well, I wanted to see the Justice League at his funeral. And yeah, fair enough, like seeing all of the members. But as it comes, I actually think this is a fine adaptation. You know, I like Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, Diana points out that like, oh, they don't know how to honor him, so they bury him like a soldier. Whereas, you know, for that Clark part, it's just like a normal funeral. I'll be honest, I did kind of get choked up. I don't think the movie like emotionally connected with me. It may just be my general feelings on Superman, or maybe it's just, you know, funerals make me sad. I don't know, it's one of those two things. But I feel, you know, the funeral was well enough. I definitely got a little bit emotional during it. You know, the whole thing of like, oh, you know, when I first met him, Bruce Wayne was like, oh, I was in a bad place. But now through him, I have hope. And, you know, we're going to go find the other metahumans and we're going to do better. I think that's all good. I like the funeral scene. I think it all works really well. We get the final scene with Lex Luthor where he's like, oh, the bell has been rung. You know, in the Ultimate Edition, you see him talk to Steppenwolf, tell him that God is dead and that he can come to Earth. Obviously setting all that stuff up. That if it was just that scene, it'd be fine. If that was the only scene, that and, you know, Diana saying, we're going to find other metahumans like us, I'd be fine with all of this. It's all the other bullshit I have a problem with. And then the movie ends with the rising dirt that obviously he's going to come back. You know, because here's the other thing about Death of Superman, is it was never meant to be permanent. It was always going to be undone, even in the comics, and even, of course, in the movies, it was going to be undone. It's the second movie in your universe. Of course they were always going to undo it. It's kind of like the blip, right? Like, you knew they were going to undo the snap in Infinity War because you killed off Black Panther in Spider-Man. Like, you're not going to leave those characters dead, obviously. So, thoughts on Batman v Superman? If I had to, I don't know where a score, I guess I'd say like a 7. Compared to the other movies, I'd put it above Superman 4, above Superman 3, above Superman Returns, and above Man of Steel. Below Superman 2, below Superman, the Donner one, below the James Gunn Superman. Yeah, I guess 4 seems kind of high. I'm probably forgetting something in there, but that's probably where I'd put it.
We did it.
Yeah, I guess that my ranking is James Gunn Superman, Donner Superman, Superman 2, Batman v Superman, probably actually Superman Returns, because I didn't hate that as much as other people did. Greg Miller, as much as Greg Miller did. Then Man of Steel, which I did not like. Then Superman 4, and then Superman 3 at the bottom. Because I did not like Superman 3 at all. I found that movie so boring. Whereas at least 4 was so bad it was entertaining. I guess that's my ranking. I might be forgetting something in there. But yeah, I think that's it for me with Superman. I don't plan on doing Justice League. I don't think I might watch the new Superman again because it's on HBO Max now. But I don't plan on doing anything else. Maybe I'll go back and watch some of the Batmans just because we've done so many of them. But yeah. And I think that's where we're going to end off. Yeah, 4 worlds, that's not bad. What's coming in the future? I don't know, we're going to keep playing Kirby. I'm excited for Kirby Air Riders. We're going to keep playing Pokemon. I don't know if we're going to do any shiny hunting in Scarlet and Violet. I'm definitely thinking about it, but I don't know. But, we'll get to the book. I had a book. It's called If the Shoe Fits. It's a Cinderella book. I read the entire thing in a week while playing Pokemon. Listen to it. We'll talk about it next week. Well, I'm done for the night. I'm going to bed. Oh, and my headphones are dying as well. But yeah, it's Kirby. I'm having fun with this game. And yeah. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.